Assalamu alaikum. I'm doing a vlog after somewhat of a long break because I was just unable to do a long form video. But anyway, I'm back now and I am going to do a topic which was recently discussed a lot because Board Game Geek has announced their Golden Geek Awards, which are the most coveted awards after the Spiel Awards, which are the Game of the Year awards, as done by the German Game Awards, or which are considered as the Oscars of board games. But after that, if there is an award which is considered as the most famous, then that would be the one done by the Board Game Geek, because that is a website used by everyone out of the board game community. So whatever are their nominees, whatever are the winners of those awards, everyone pays attention to them, and it's an honor to win those awards. So I'm going to tell you that who the winners were, who the runners up were. I'm not going to go through all the nominees of those, because what they go through is a nomination process where all the Board Game Geek users can nominate in different categories the games which came out of that year, and the year we are talking about is 2021. So they nominate which games are eligible in different categories, and then once they close that session, then they have another voting session of the selected nominees to be voted, and then select that which got the most votes. So it's more about a popularity vote rather than a committee giving votes. So it's the board game community which is giving these votes or giving these awards based on the number of votes given by a game. So do consider that this is more of a popularity contest rather than anything else. But still, it does show where majority of the people's sympathies or their favors lie. Now, with those all caveat out of the way, let's start with the different categories and the nominees. Also, I'm going to tell what do I think of these different games, as well as give you a little bit of introduction just in case you are not familiar with those games. First category is going to be for two-player games only. And the runners-up were Summoner Wars 2nd edition. Summoner Wars is a battling game. So if you have played any kind of miniature game in which you have your characters on one side and other player has their characters on other side, and then they are battling with their special abilities, that's exactly what this game is, but without any kind of miniatures, because what you have are just cards on a grid map, and you are moving these cards along just to represent the figures, and the abilities are right there on the card. So each card, each character, each ability, each kind of figure is going to be having different kind of abilities written on those cards, and that's what makes it unique. And this is not a new game. This is a second or revised edition of the game that came out last year, which was nominated for the runners-up position. The other runners-up was That Time You Killed Me. This game is more of a chess-like abstract game in which you are playing not on one chessboard but on three different chessboards. On these three different chessboards, one board represents the past, a present, and then the future. And you have to actually kill your opponent in two of these boards, but using the method that actually you can travel in time. So if you have taken a move in the past, next time you have to travel or move somewhere else, not in the past anymore. And the things that you do in the past can actually impact things in the future as well. The game comes with different kind of modules. So for example, in one of the modules, if you plant a seed in the past, then in the present you will grow a tree in the present, and it will become even a giant tree. It will become a bush in the present, and then it will become a giant tree in the future. And then you can use that tree to actually drop that tree on someone and kill that person. in that way as well. So there are those thematic kind of elements. So even though it's an abstract game, but there is so much that time traveling theme added to it, that it's a fantastic two-player abstract game, which enhances it much more above chess, with very simple moves, rather than memorizing that, okay, the horse moves like this or the queen moves like this. You won't have to do anything like that in this one. Now the winner, these were the two runner-up. The winner was Radlands. Radlands is set in a post-apocalyptic universe, and it's a card battling game. Now, my opinion about this one is going to be the artwork was really fantastic for Radlands. The presentation was really fantastic. My opinion is that Radlands is a flash in the pan. It's a temporary fad. It makes an impression, but it's only a time. It has only a limited lifespan, and in few months, people will forget about this game. That's why I don't think that this game really deserved the award that it got. So even though it received this award, maybe it was because Radland was the game that actually, out of these lists that came out, the last one closest to the award, and people were getting their copies, and the retail edition came out recently. It was the most fresh one in people's mind at that time. But to me, it is a good game, but still it is a very generic game as well. The generic battling game, and that's why with time people are going to forget about this game. It will be among many other card battling games, and there are too many two-player card battling games out there anyway. So to me, this was not the right award. If it were to me, then I would be giving this award to Summoner Wars, the second edition. Now, the next category is going to be artwork or presentation. In this one, the runner-up were Canvas. In Canvas, you are scoring by making different kind of paintings, and how you make the paintings is using transparent sleeves, and the cards have different kind of transparent cards, have different kind of icons and different kind of elements of paintings on them. So for example, one on the background there might not be any birds, but another transparent card will have birds and a different icon for scoring purpose on it. And then when you overlap those cards, now your painting has birds on it. Then and a sunset can be overlapped on it. So things like that, these cards overlap each other and you make one painting in a transparent sleeve, and your final painting looks so much more beautiful. So it's a very beautiful presentation. It's a very simple family weight game, and I'm really happy to find out that now this game was previously actually only Kickstarter exclusive, but now it will be coming to retail as well, which means many more people will be able to get this game. So Canvas was a nominee or runner-up in the artwork presentation category. The second one was Oath: Chronicles of Empire in Exile. Oath comes in the same line, not in the same line, but from the same developers as Root. And whoever has seen the Carl Ferman artwork of Root, they will love the artwork of Oath as well. In my personal opinion, Oath had less artwork or less beautiful board as compared to Root, because it was a different game. But anyway, Carl Ferran did this artwork and it's in the same kind of universe, and that's why it still looks superb, and that artwork is still very nice. And that's Oath: Chronicles of Empire. Gameplay wise, what this game is it's more of a card game set on a board, but it presented a very unique idea in which actually you will have a legacy kind of system. So it's not a legacy in the sense that you will be ripping off cards or the story is going to change from game to game. It's a legacy based on what you did. So the cards will be moving from one deck to another deck based on how you played. And however you ended up your game, you will be storing back the game in the same sense, in the same deck formation, back in the box. And next time you play, that's how you will start the game. Whoever was the winner last time, he becomes the next king or something. And the game starts from there on onward for the next generation. And that's how the game continuity is. So it does require a lot of replays before you get into the meta of that game. So a very unique game, but not easy to get into. It is kind of difficult game. The third one was Sleeping Gods, a game by Ryan Lockett in which you are stranded on an island with your ship and you have to awaken these sleeping gods. By in an open world, you can travel anywhere you want. In the board game, it's just like open-ended adventure video games that you can go anywhere you want, and then try to solve the puzzle. If you find out this is becoming too hard for me, you can travel back and try to go to some other island. So this game was filled with a lot of artwork done all by Ryan Lockett himself. Just crazy amount of artwork in this game. But in my opinion, even though the number of artwork was really high, and Sleeping Gods is the winner in this category, but in my opinion, from a presentation point of view, this award should have been won by Canvas, because Canvas was a unique idea. Even though Mythic Whale had some kind of similar concept, but how it used the theme of designing paintings using the transparent sleeves and transparent cards is something not done before. So to me, the artwork and presentation category should have been won by Canvas instead. Next category is co-op. In co-op, the runners-up were Micro Macro Crime City Full House. This is the second part of the Micro Macro Crime City games, in which you have a huge map, black and white map, line art, and you have to find different crime scenarios. You will find a character, and it's like a snapshot in time picture or onion skin picture, in which the same character you will see multiple times. So the character is doing the crime here, but then he was walking towards the crime scene, and you have to trace him back, that where did he start from, why did he commit the crime, what forced him to do this, what was his relation with the other person. And you are tracing all these stories out using the picture that are given on a single piece of paper. Multiple cases in this huge map. Full House was just another variation on the same formula that was in the original game. Nothing specifically new in this game, but that's what the game was. So you are collectively solving those crimes, or trying to find out the answers of why someone committed that crime. The second one nominated was Sleeping Gods. We have already talked about Sleeping Gods. That's a co-op game. And the winner was The Crew Mission Deep Sea. And I fully agree, The Crew Mission Deep Sea does deserve that award. This is also a sequel to The Crew. What was the first one called? The Search for Planet X, Search for Planet 9, something like that. So that was set in space. This one is set in under the sea. It's a trick-taking game in which you cannot tell others what cards you have in your hand, and you are collectively trying to complete tricks or win tricks specific to yourself or to others. So you will be, what the second part added is that it will have randomized missions in each of the game that you play. So you will flip a number of cards, and it will set the objective for the mission that you have to win. For example, someone has to win a trick with a pink 2. Someone has to win tricks, but his total of the yellow should exceed 20. And things like that. Different conditions will come up, and you have to take those objectives and then try to complete those objectives by playing a trick-taking game, but without talking to each other. So an excellent trick-taking spin-off on the trick-taking games. highly recommended, and I do think that it deserved the rightful award because this game has so much angst in it, and you will have a lovely time playing this with anyone that you play. Now, the next category was the best expansions. Uh, just being honest, I rarely play with the expansions. There are very few games I have bought expansions for, because rather than buying expansions, I will prefer, okay, if I have the money, I'll just go buy a new game instead. There are very few games for which, very rare games for which I do buy expansions. I have bought expansions for Legends of Endor because that's how much I love it, including Cthulhu Death May Die, Downforce, and Baron Buck. I think these are the only games, and Colt Express. So there are only a handful of games for which I have bought expansions. Other than that, I don't buy expansions. So even when I talk about these expansions, this is based on what I know, but I have not played any of these expansions myself. So the first runners up is going to be Concordia Solitaria. This was a solitaire, that is a solo mode expansion for Concordia. I think it added a deck of cards on how the solo mode will work for Concordia. Concordia for me is an okay game. I know there are lovers of Concordia, a lightweight or a light to medium weight Euro game, but to me it was an okay game, and I'm not interested in even its solo mode. So anyway, but that was one of its expansions that came out last year. The second expansion was Park's Nightfall, and that was surprising for me because whatever I have heard about Park's Nightfall expansion, that it is kind of a non-essential and doesn't really add anything to the exceptionally good Parks game. So Parks game is a self-contained, very good game for, again, light to medium kind of family weight game. And Nightfall didn't add anything. So I don't even know why it made it to this list. And in my opinion, at least based on what I have heard about this expansion, it should have not made it to the runners-up category. The winner was Lost Ruins of Arnak Expedition Leaders, and I have only heard good things about that. So Expedition Leaders adds unique abilities to each of the unique powers to each of the players in Lost Ruins of Arnak. Lost Ruins of Arnak, in which you are going to this unique planet and trying to explore this planet out. Expedition Leaders added more content to that, plus unique abilities. It was a beloved expansion, so rightfully deserved. Now, I do think that Park's Nightfall did not deserve. So, in my opinion, what should have come instead should have been Dune Imperium Rise of X, because again, that was an expansion for which I have heard so many good things, and I have seen playthroughs of that game with the expansion, and it does enhance the game. Plus, it could have been Marvel United expansions, because Marvel United, in my opinion, was a lackluster game, a very basic game, but its expansions, which got released in 21 enhanced it a lot. And without those expansions, I wouldn't recommend to anyone to get Marvel United game. So to me, that's kind of an essential expansion for the game. Anyway, so expansions category could have been better as well. The next category was party games. In this one, the runners-up were Stella, a Dixit Universe. This was a riff on Dixit. The concept is nearly the same, that in Dixit Universe you have this esoteric or weird kind of abstract image cards with weird things, multiple things on a single card. The problem with Dixit is that you have to be a little creative yourself, because when as the story writer or storyteller, as the Dixit games call them, has to select a card, they have to make up a sentence, a word, a poem, or something about that card. Let's say Viking. So they have to be creative enough to have a word that does not describe exactly what's on the card, but vaguely describes, because you want to match somewhat with others, but not 100% with everyone. And that's some what um, is not very comfortable to many people, or they are not ready to actually have that kind of mental load on them, put on them, that no, 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 I'm not good at selecting those kind of words. It's too much for them. Now Stella fixed that problem, because now what happens in the Stella Dixit universe is that there is a deck of word cards. Everyone has these picture cards with them, but then there are word cards as well. So a word will be flipped up and it will say something like empathy. And then people will be looking at their own cards and thinking that, okay, which of these cards represent empathy in my opinion? And then contributing that to the shared pool, and then everyone will be voting that which of these cards do represent that word which has come out. So now it has removed that thinking about the word. Now you just have to select cards based on the word and then voting for different cards. So the rest of the mechanics remain same as the previous Dixit game, but minus the word thinking part, which I think fixed Dixit. So personally, I think this makes it better than Dixit itself. So a worthy runners up. The next runners up was Don't Get Got, the Shut Up and Sit Down Special Edition. Don't Get Got is a game which is not your regular kind of party game or board game. What it is that if you are having a regular party at your home, not a board game party, just a regular dinner party or anything at your home, when the guests come in, you give them a secret objective from this deck of cards. So it might be thing like, okay, have someone call another person who is also at that party. So it might be a very difficult task that you will be thinking, oh, how am I going to achieve this? Because both the people are within this room. How am I going to let this person call that other person? But then during all that party, you might be thinking of ways how you can get him to call, but without getting caught. Because at any time, if someone does figure out that, okay, are you trying to force me because it is your objective of the game of Don't Get Got, then you immediately lose your objective. And at the end of the party, those people who have completed their objectives are going to be the winner. Those who were caught or were unable to complete their objective are going to lose. So that's how the game is going to work. So maybe you will be making elaborate plans, like asking the person B who needs to be called to go and check, because I think somebody is trying to get out of parking and his car is blocking the car. So he goes out, and then when he goes out unnoticed, you ask around, oh, where is Mr. B? And then you ask Mr. A, who is supposed to call. Can you call him because the dinner is about to be ready? Where did he go? Because he's not in the washroom. And maybe unintentionally they will call, because they will notice that, yeah, Mr. B is missing, and they will call him, and your objective got done. So in this way, you have to find clever ways of trying to make people do things for you which are written on your objective. Now Shut Up and Sit Down channel, they made a special edition. They added more objectives, made their own crazy kind of objectives for this game, and re-released this game as their own edition, and that got nominated. Now, even though this is a really unique party game, but I don't think that it is going to be that much common or that much easy to pull out as a game on each and every occasion. So it does not deserve to be at least on this high up on this list. Instead, I would have preferred if they would have gone with a game like Last Message, or there were a few good drawing games that, quick drawing games that came out this year. They could have gone with those. One of my favorite is Last Message, in which actually you are drawing, one of the victims is drawing the messages, the mastermind is erasing those messages, and the investigators have to figure out about who the mastermind is based on the partially erased messages. So it's very funny. I'm not going into detail of that, but based on those partially erased images, they have to figure out who the mastermind is, and it was a fabulous party game. So I do think that could have been a better nomination rather than Don't Get Caught. But anyway, that's what the second runner-up was. Now, the winner, with which I do agree was the best party game, is So Clover. So Clover comes from the same group as Just One, Repo's Production, another board game in which you have a clover shaped board in which you will be placing cards, and each card is going to, or once you have placed the cards, two cards will be facing one location, and you will have to find a single word that represents those two words. Once you are done, you will shuffle up those cards, give it to other people. You will be playing as co-op, and what they have to figure out is that how the card orientation works, so that they can figure out that which word did you select for which two different cards. And sometimes these can be entirely different cards, like gorilla and tank. How do you mix them together? So maybe you will be thinking power, and you will write that common word, because maybe somebody thinks of gorilla, he's powerful, and tanks are powerful, and maybe power will suit, or maybe somebody will think you have gone bananas. But anyway, So Clover is a fantastic game, and I do think it rightfully won the award of the best party game of 2021. The next category is the print and play games. So in print and play games, again another caveat that I have not played any of these. I do know about two of them. The first one is Grim World First Steps. I have no idea about this one. But Rats, High Tea at Sea. This is a game made by Shut Up and Sit Down as well. They were involved in the development of this one during COVID time. They wanted to release something for free, and that's when they made this game. So Rats High Tea at Sea is a game about, well, different kind of rats and meeting their different objectives. You are voting for rats. I remember it vaguely, but anyway, that's what the print and play was. But the winner was Gloom Holding, which is an 18 card game, which is Gloomhaven converted to 18 cards alone. And how you orient those cards and hold those cards, it's just a fascinating idea, and I still don't understand how it works. How can you play Gloomhaven with just 18 cards? But that's what the game is about. And to me, yeah, if you can come up with that kind of idea, you rightfully deserve to win the Print and Play award. The next one was category is the solo games, and in solo games, the one of the nominee is Ark Nova, the heavyweight game about building zoos, building conservatories for animals, building tableau of animals that work with each other, and then releasing those animals to the wild to gain points. It took inspiration from games like Civilization as well as Terraforming Mars about its mechanism, and came up with a fascinating game on its own. You can play it solo, and that's why it was came in the solo category as a runners up as well. Sleeping Gods came in that category as well, but the winner was Final Girl. Final Girl was based on the investigator negotiator game, Last Negotiator, something like that game. This is a remaking of that game. In Final Girl, it takes the riff of old VHS horror movie games, horror movies, in which you are left as the final girl and the horror killer is trying to kill you, and you have to not only save yourself but take the revenge of your friends who have been murdered by this psychopath and take the revenge. So it comes with multiple films. You can mix and match locations, the girls that you play with, or the murderers that are after you. And I have only heard good things about this game, so it rightfully deserves the award for the solo game of the year. The next category is the thematic games. Final Girl was the first runners up in this category, Oath Chronicles of Crime, but the winner was Sleeping God. Now, I had issues with this category because when we talk about thematic games, Final Girl I think is the only one where I agree. When you talk about thematic games, it should not be that a theme was good. The mechanics of the game or mechanisms used in game should be matching the game theme as well. So when you talk about Sleeping Gods, the combat mechanism really didn't gel with the rest of the game. Same goes with Oath. To me, here I would have preferred to see games like The Adventures of Robin Hood and The Initiative, because they were really thematic games. You were in the Initiative, you're doing code breaking, you're children, you had real sense of what children go through or teenagers go through, and then you are trying to solve a game within the game and trying to break the codes. It was very thematic. Same goes for Adventures of Robin Hood, and an adventure game in which you do feel like you are playing characters from the Robin Hood universe. But anyway, that's my opinion, that I do think those two games should have gone in the thematic category. The next category, for which I have very little information, is the war games. And the nominations were Red Flags over, or runners up were Red Flags over Paris and Atlantic Chase. The winner was Undaunted Reinforcements. I do know about Undaunted because I played the Undaunted North Africa, but Reinforcements was an expansion, so it feels weird to me that the winner is actually not a true war game. Undaunted was actually a card game based on a war theme. It was a deck building game based on war theme. And Undaunted Reinforcements is actually an expansion to Undaunted Normandy and North Africa. So that's also weird for me, that why they are saying, why they gave the award to Undaunted Reinforcement. So even though that's the only game I know, but I do still think that that's a weird game to give an award to. Now, the next category is the best app. Railroad Inc. Fantastic app for this roll and write where you have to make your railroad tracks from start to exit. Concordia, medium, light to medium Euro game about deck building and then using those cards to actually play. Trade Resources, Gloomhaven app was the winner. Gloomhaven, whoever has played the digital, not the app, the Steam version, whoever has played the Gloomhaven Steam version, they say it's better than playing the Gloomhaven board game because you don't have to do the setup and the tear down. I love playing the board game version just because of the physical interaction, but if you're playing solo, then of course the digital edition is going to be the best choice. Then the next category is the podcast. The runners-up were 5 games for Doomsday. Ben Maddox does that. Fantastic interviews he does. And he has such unique questions with all the different hosts from the board gaming community. If you have not heard about that podcast, then I do recommend that you listen to it. Then the next one, runners-up, was This Game is Broken, which is hosted by Matthew Jude, Paula Dennings, and the Brothers Murph, all funny people, and they do a funny show, a quiz show on this podcast. But the winner were the Board Game Barrage. Board Game Barrage is one of my favorite, and even I voted for this podcast as well, because the dynamics of the friends who are on this podcast is what makes it fun. They cover the games they played. They have very nice witty banter with each other. Just a lovely podcast. Once you get to know the people on this podcast, you are going to enjoy your time with them. So a rightful win, Board Game Barrage. Now comes the 3 main categories game of the years. First of all, the light game of the year. Seven Wonders Architect was the runner-up. This is a simplified version of Seven Wonders, in which rather than drafting from each other, you have just two deck of cards, either take from the deck on the side or from the common pool, and then you are using those cards to complete the resources to complete your wonder. A very simplified version, but better production for the game, so that you really get to see your wonder getting built up. Recommended for families. Then the next one was Canvas. We have already talked about it, highly recommended. But the winner was Cascadia. Now, Cascadia comes from the same line as Calico. And Cascadia, what they have done is a unique mechanism. Well, not unique, it's getting used more and more. But you're drafting tiles to make up your land in which the animals are going to stay. But when you draft a tile, you have to take an animal tile with it, animal token with it. So there are always two combination of these which you have to pick up. So sometimes you want to take the land because it matches your requirement, but not the animal. Sometimes you want to take the animal, but it doesn't match the land tile that you want to take. And that presents different kind of decisions that you have to go through. So, but to me, it was a deserving choice. This Cascadia is going to keep selling forward in future years as well, and I do think this has enough firepower in it to actually remain as a classic in all future years. So, a rightful winner, Cascadia. When it comes to medium weight games, the runners-up was Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. So they took Terraforming Mars, tried to simplify it, shorten it, even though the playtime is nearly the same, but try to do things a little bit differently and concentrate more on the tableau building and the card mechanics rather than the board side of things, and came up with Ares Expedition. The second runners-up was Sleeping God, which I think should have been the winner. But sadly, the winner is The Crew, Mission Deep Sea. Now, even though I love The Crew, Mission Deep Sea, but winning in the medium weight category, I really don't think so. It won the best co-op game, and that should have been the limit for The Crew. But winning the medium weight category, no, it's not a medium weight category. Maximum, it's a lightweight category. And the lightweight category was already full, so it didn't even deserve to be there. That's why I'm saying The Crew should have just won the best co-op game, and that's it. So to me, I do think that here some mess up did happen. A big mess up happened where The Crew won. I love that game, but it's not the right category that this game won. The last category is the heavyweight games. Imperium Classic was the first runner-up. Imperium Classic is a deck building game, but with very detailed mechanism, complex mechanisms where you're trying to find combos about building your own civilization through that deck building. It's a slightly more complex game, so yes, it fits in the heavy category, and there are different variations of this Imperium Classic and Imperium Deluxe or something. Imperium Legends. Imperium Legends, two versions came out for this game. And the only problem I have with this game is that there is too much solitaire game happening, even though you're playing with other players, but I'm just concentrating on getting the cards to build my kingdom, and other player is using card. It's a pure card game, and the other player is just getting cards to build his own, and we are not interacting with each other. But otherwise, it would have been lovely artwork. It would have been a very nice game. So, not my favorite. The other runners-up in this category was Oath. Oath has been getting a lot of nominations in all of these categories, so accordingly, it got popularity award here as well. Even though I don't think that it has enough legs to remain that much popular in the coming years like Root. But the winner is going to be Ark Nova, the heavy game of the year. Ark Nova, rightfully deserved, because in future years, Ark Nova is going to replace games like Terraforming Mars. It took things good things from Terraforming Mars and other games and try to make a unique game by itself. It has a lot of mishmash of mechanisms and it tried to gel them together and did them successfully. And I do think that this game is going to remain in people's mind and as well as on the Board Game Geek top games list for a very, very long time. So, most probably expansions for this game are already under the way. Even though what I would prefer is an expansion to cut down the number of cards that are in this game so that you can have more combos happening with your cards. But anyway, that's my wish. That's not something that's actually going to happen because people love more cards. But still, even with the huge deck of cards this game comes with, it still is going to be the winner, and people are going to love it. And I do agree with that. Still, with all the issues that I might have with that game. But anyway, so that's the overall all the Board Game Geek best games of the year, and I hope. Those who were not aware of these nominations, those awards, these games, are now aware of it. Now, do understand that winning an award does not mean that only that game was good and the game which was in runners up was not good. If you pick up any game out of this list, it's going to be it's going to be a lovely game. So do check out detailed review of these games on all other board game channels. Make up your opinion before you buy these games. But even if you pick up any game from this list, it's still going to be a fascinating, a lovely game which you can enjoy with your friends, your family, and your board game buddies. Hopefully, this list made you aware of more games that were fascinating games that were available in 2021. That's it for me.